Good afternoon, everyone. Chris Berryman here, coalition builder and founder of Bringing Humanity Together. Welcome to the meet and greet session of our Bringing Humanity Together live stream. And our host today will be none other than Sandy Chernoff here today. So, this is one of the three open forums under the Bringing Humanity Together umbrella where people can discuss topics related to the workplace, humanity in the workplace in a very positive and constructive way. We want to know what the issues are out there that are facing people today because it is our goal to both work with employers and employees to bring humanity back into the workforce. And as always, we'll be going live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all at 2:45 for a meet and greet, and the call will then start at 3 p.m. Feel free to invite your friends, coworkers, family, fur babies, whoever it is. We would love to have them part of the great and engaging conversation that we have on our live streams. And if you even watch this on the replay, use the hashtag replay too as well, and put any questions, comments, topics you want us to bring out on these live streams. And we want to hear from you, the heartbeat of humanity, because we also like to have your point of view front and center each and every single day. And as a reminder, every Tuesday, Sharon, Karen, Sandy is hosted by Sandy Chernoff. I host Conversation for Humanity on Wednesday, and Thursday is Humanity Happy Hour hosted by Carla Finnegan. And like I said, when you jump on our LinkedIn Live or on our YouTube channel, please feel free to comment in the comment section of where you're jumping on from and let us know what you're thinking about the conversation. We'd love to have that great and engaging conversation with you. So, hello, Sandy Chernoff.
Hi, Chris. Looking
How are
forward
you
to
doing
Hi,
today?
Lisa. We were just talking about those cute little videos that you made for the job. They're very cute. They really are. And I'm sure that, anybody who's looking for something, they would be interested. And we need help.
And I'll have to say, Pontoon is a great platform. I love it. So I love those little things. So it's really
They're
good and
very cute.
everything. So how are you doing today, Lisa? Can't hear you. Ah, the microphone issues. That's weird. Come on, microphone. You got to work when you say you work.
Can you unmute yourself? Lisa, is
No,
that
it's a
what it
microphone
is?
issue.
Oh, okay.
It's a microphone issue on her end somehow. Um, well, I apologize for that because I know you just got that computer, and man, it's always something. I know it is always
Welcome to
something.
technology.
Yep. Welcome to technology.
When it's working, it's great. And when it's not, you want to throw it out the window.
Yep, that is true. There is the link. All right. So, Sandy, what will we be talking today for our share and care session today?
Well, we're going to look at intention and what else, Chris?
Intention and possibility.
Okay. I think if people have no intentions, they're not going to exercise any possibilities. So people, if they want to move forward and they want to try different things in their life and they want to see how different kinds of things work, then you have to have intention. And if you do, then all kinds of possibilities can come your way. I mean, there are always opportunities out there. It's just a matter of looking and deciding that you're going to cross that line that you drew in the sand and give it a shot. I mean, when I started my soft skills business, Chris, I told you my son dared me, and
Yep.
it was just a matter of either doing nothing or saying, what have I got to lose? Which is how I looked at it. I figured it's an opportunity. He's absolutely right, and I should give it a shot. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Because fortunately for me, I didn't need to go rent an office space or buy a bunch of equipment or, I already had my computer. I already had most of the information that I needed to do this. What I had to do was get a business card. And then ultimately, as you know, I had to get a website because you don't have a website, nobody can find you. So it's just a matter of getting to know what there is to do. And if you can't do it yourself, then hire somebody who can. It's just,
Yes, yes.
it's,
So we have a new person joining us this actually in the morning in the UK.
Good
Sarah
evening.
Campbell. Hello, Sarah.
Hello. Hi there. Hi, everyone.
hi, nice to see you.
And you, finally.
How are you doing today?
Very well. It's actually nighttime here, so it's very nice to meet you all.
Well, I am so glad and humbled and honored that you're able to join us today. So we're just so thankful. So
Likewise.
let everybody know who's watching how me and you got connected. What was that like? And what said, hey, I've got to get connected with Chris Berwin? What was that?
I can't remember the initial sort of conversation, but I do know that I've had a lot of dealings recently with 360 Nation. And I think that's how I may have found you via there, whether it will be a comment or something like that. And
Right.
I was very interested to get to find out a bit more about what you've been doing. And everything I've heard, I really like. So I was very keen to sort of get to know you a bit more and do some more networking. And I
And,
also
and that's the whole reason behind bringing humanity together because to me, we're all sitting at the same table of humanity. We're already there. And if
quite
we're,
right.
and today's topic is going to be about intention and possibilities. If we're going to be intentional enough to go seek out those connections, are we going to not only be intentional into giving it and also to receive it and the possibilities that lie there within that, you know?
People miss opportunities because they don't take advantage of the possibilities that are offered to them because they're afraid.
Very true.
People are afraid to do things that they're not very sure about. And
That's right.
stepping out of your comfort zone is something for a lot of people that's very, very difficult to
Mhm.
do. I just said to Chris, I get bored with the same old, so I like to step out of my comfort zone.
Right, right.
But I'm kind of unusual. A lot of people think I'm nuts, but that's okay. It's just a
No,
matter of what you like to do.
Hello, Miss Carla.
Hey, Chris. Sandy, I think a lot like you do.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, Carl. I think you and I have a lot in common. It's
Yeah,
just,
I think we do too.
yeah,
Yeah, and I agree. Number one, people don't think with intentionality. They think, oh yeah, I need to do this or I need to do that, and they're not intentional about what they're doing. They do everything half-assed. Instead of putting
well,
their full attention into something, they just fly by the seat of their pants and they wonder why they don't get the results that they want because they're
exactly.
not intentional about doing it. There are a lot of people that think that they need to, if they want to open their own business, they need to do 16 hours a day. And if you're really intentional about it and focused on it, you can get the same amount of work done in far less time, in a matter of hours.
Well, and the other thing is you can't do everything yourself.
No.
And particularly with some of the things that, that we don't really know how to do it. It's just like, I had to get someone to make my website for me. I don't know how to do that. I'm not techie.
Uh-huh.
But I've learned how to use WordPress now, and I know certain things that I can do to help the SEO on my site, and I do it. And it's just, I had to learn a lot of things. I mean, starting a business is a minefield.
Yeah.
You've got to learn how to navigate that minefield. And so there's things you have to learn. I mean, it just is what it is, and you can't know everything. So in some situations, you have to hire somebody who has the expertise to help you and either teach you or let them do it, whatever works. And that's why you need a bit of a budget to start a business. Fortunately for me, I didn't have to rent an office space or anything like that. I just have always worked from home.
Yeah.
And, I didn't need to buy a new computer, and I had all the materials. And so, it wasn't really a huge expense to start the business.
Right.
But what cost me was getting that website up. And, because I had to hire somebody to do that. I'm not techie enough.
Yeah.
But I now know a lot about WordPress. And so I can do a lot of things on the back end of it, because when I had my website transferred onto it, the gal who did it, I had her come to my house and teach me how to use the back end so that I could do a lot of things myself. My kids think it's very funny that their older mother can do some of these things, because they just, and my friends all think I'm nuts, because pretty much all my friends are retired.
Yeah.
So,
Why haven't you retired?
Yeah, exactly, Carla. Well, what I tell them is this, that if I wake up one morning and go, oh my God, I've got to do another workshop, then it's time to quit. It just, it is. But I don't view it that way. I mean, I enjoy what I do. It's fun. It's interesting. I've met lots of interesting people. I've learned about a lot of different kinds of industries, because I had to, because I have such a diverse group of clients. And it's just a matter of, again, those things are all good for old brains, because if you're a robot and you just do everything the same all the time, it's not healthy for your brain. In order to keep your brain healthy, you have to keep challenging it to open new neural pathways, which means that you need to keep learning new things. If you're a robot and you do everything the same all the time, it's not very healthy for your brain. And people who retire and don't have a plan of what they're going to do to keep themselves physically healthy and mentally healthy go downhill very fast. You have to keep challenging yourself. Even if you decide you're just going to learn how to paint or how to sculpt or how to play bridge or how to, play golf, whatever. It's just a matter
I'm
of
still learning to play golf.
Now we're all learning to play golf. I think it's the
playing
hardest
15
sport
years.
there is. I don't think it's a harder sport out there, Carla. And
So
I've done lots of sports, believe me. But golf it's very tough. And we think too much. That's part of the problem. You
Yes.
just go there and hit the darn ball. I mean, you start thinking where your hands are, and the funny thing is that most ball sports require hand-eye coordination. With golf, the ball is stationary. It's lying on the ground. Why is it so hard?
The ball's going to get in the way of the swing. Yeah. My husband has not been able to hit his driver lately, and it's not been fun. He doesn't listen to this, so it's not been fun on the course, okay?
No.
And Chris, you better not say a darn word, okay? But he played with a friend of his yesterday, and he goes, I think I figured out some things with my driver. And I'm like, thank God. And I said, so what did you figure out, dear? He goes, well, I was trying to hit the ball instead of having the ball get in the way. And I just thought to myself,
yeah.
duh.
So,
Whatever.
That's great. You worked something out, honey.
so everyone, let's introduce ourselves to Sarah and everything. And I'll start with you, Lisa. Lisa, why don't you introduce yourself to Sarah?
Muted.
Hasn't got any sound today, Sarah. So unless you can read lips, you're not going to be able to know what Lisa's saying.
Well, I'm sorry you're having issues again, Lisa, because I guess you had to reboot the computer. So maybe you can type it in the chat and everything, and we'll just go over to Carla, okay?
Hey, Sarah. My name's Carla. I met Chris on LinkedIn. We had mutual connections in the Lakeland, Florida area, and he was telling me about what his mission was. And I was in nursing for 40 years and realized that we could go a long way towards improving work conditions, especially now in the health and wellness industry. And I told him, I said, I have my own business. It was pretty easy to get started. So all this stuff you're talking about SEOs and all this other stuff, I had no clue about. But it was one of those things that I said, it's worth the mission, and I'm going to open my brain to learning something new. And, I've learned stuff along the way and insights along the way, and met some wonderful people who all have the same mission. And Insight is Chris, and I have a health and wellness business. I have 2 kids. There'll always be kids. 35, and my son will be 37 in September. And What else was I going to say? Oh, I'm going to retire when I expire because I love what I do.
Good for you.
Sandy?
Nice to meet you.
Well, I'm a retired dental hygienist, Sarah. I practiced dental hygiene for over 40 years, but I also have a degree in education. And I was trained by a large international women's organization to be a leadership trainer. And as a volunteer, I used to travel from Victoria, BC to New York City and everything in between, empowering women in the communities across the country to feel more confident and competent, to take on higher roles of responsibility in the leadership area, because not-for-profits that don't build leadership die because they burn out their leaders, but they don't have the money to hire professional facilitators on a regular basis. So we did it as volunteers. So you got to love your kids. I have two also. My son will be 43 in September. My daughter's 46.
Wow.
But when he was 17 or 18, I came home from a weekend of training, and Mark looks at me and he goes, "Mom, you're really good at this. You should do it for real." I said, "Excuse me, I do this for real." And he said to me, "No, for money." I said, "Don't be silly. I'm a hygienist." So he said to me, "You have a sore back, you have trigger thumb in both your thumbs, and how much longer do you think you're going to be able to practice?" And my kids are nervous because I'm the Energizer Bunny, and they figure if I have nothing to do, I'll just focus on them and drive them crazy. So I stepped back and I thought, what have I got to lose? I mean, yeah, I've never had a business before, but we can figure this out. So,
Give it a whirl.
yeah, exactly. So my son goes, "Let's go to Kinko's and get a business card." So I actually have a friend who's a graphic designer, and Peter designed my business card for me. And I thought people, when I went to did conference speaking and so on, that people would ask for my business card. No, that's not what they asked for. We live in a new age. They wanted to know if I had a website. Are you ready, Sarah? At that time, I didn't even know what a website was. As it turned out, one of my nieces, one of my brother's daughters, was dabbling in web design in high school. So I took my new business card and I went over to my brother's house and I sat down with Caitlin. And she made my first website. And I used it as a virtual brochure. But then I realized people get work from their website. I wasn't getting any hits. So I go back to my kids, and my daughter looks at me like I've landed from the moon. And she says to me, "You need your SEO fixed." Well, I didn't even know what SEO was. So anyway,
You thought it was a chronic illness.
yeah, exactly. She gave me the name of a guy that she knew who specializes in this and specializes in websites and everything. And he lives actually on Vancouver Island. I've never actually met Nathaniel. But anyway, he looked at my website and then he phoned me and he said, "Well, you have this lovely artistic flash page on the front of your website with an enter button." He said it completely blocks you from the internet. So that's the first thing that has to go. And then he started talking tech speak to me, about backlinking and meta tagging and keywording. And I said to him, "Nathaniel, you might as well be speaking Martian. I have no idea what you're telling me. Just tell me what you need from me in plain English and I'll be very happy to provide." So he started to laugh hysterically. I now know what a lot of those things are, but back then I had no idea what he was telling me. So he basically rebuilt my website. And it was funny because it shows you how long ago it was. For about $300, he rebuilt my website. And within a week, I started getting hits. And I get about 80 to 90% of my new contracts from inquiries through my website, because what I learned is what I'm doing. And it's pretty much what we're going to be doing in this organization, is you can't make people do things they don't want to do. They have to know that they have a problem. And if somebody, an individual or an organization has a problem, they Google the problem. That's why the SEO is so important. And so, I mean, I also met Chris on LinkedIn. When I saw what he was doing, it's pretty much what I do. I mean, that's what soft skills training is all about. And so I just have fun. I really enjoy the people that I work with. And I've always enjoyed helping people, which is why I went into healthcare. Now I'm just helping people in a different way. I'm helping them to be successful in all aspects of their lives, because no programs, no professional, vocational, technical programs include soft skills, which is really a shame because people have to deal with people. I'm sorry. When I started this there, also people said to me, "Well, you have to figure out your target market." So I said, "Okay, that's an interesting idea. Name me an industry that doesn't have people." So he kind of looked at me like I was nuts. And I said, "Well, I'm sorry. What I do is solve people problems. So I don't actually have a target market because pretty much every industry has people. If they have people, they have trouble. So it's just a matter of, whatever. And I started doing some push marketing initially, but I just found it didn't do anything. And because it really, people, when they have something, that's when they search out an answer. So I always have, and we're going to do this in this organization, I always have what I call a discussion interview with a new prospect, because I want to find out very specifically what they're looking for, because doing generic workshops doesn't help. It's got to address what their specific issues are. So we always are going to have a conversation and find out very specifically what they're looking for so that we can make sure we include elements in the program that are going to address their specific issues. Because that way they're going to be happy and their people will get new approaches and new strategies and new skills to be able to overcome whatever's troubling them or, holding them back. So it's very important to have those discussions. And usually the portal of entry is HR, and HR knows everything. I call them firefighters. And in the company, they know everybody and everybody comes to them. They could actually do the training, but they don't have time because they're doing so many other things, and putting together training programs is very time consuming. So that's why they usually hire an outside facilitator. But they're really good to talk to because they know exactly what's necessary. And I often say to them, "Sir, it's really funny. I'm very sorry I have to put you to work." And they go, "What?" And I say, "Well, I'm going to be teaching your people some new approaches and strategies and skills. But after I do that, I want them to apply it to something that they're familiar with, that they've been struggling with. So I need the scenarios or the situations that your people have had trouble with. If you can send those to me, I will put them into the PowerPoint slides, but I will also hard copy them. And after I've taught them some new things, we will then have them number off in groups, and every group will get a hard copy scenario of something they're familiar with. And if they see why they're learning this new stuff and why it would be a good idea to apply it because they'll get better outcomes, then it's a win-win. And then the company feels good because they get a good ROI, good return on their investment. And that's why it's very important to find out specifically what they're looking for. I've done a lot of work with all the big law firms in Vancouver. And when I've gone back, some of the staff come up to me, "I'm still using that stuff you taught us, 3 years ago, whatever." And I go, "Yes, good to hear." So in other words, it was beneficial. And in fact, when I started in the big law firms, the staff, because it was all staff, very few law firms. I have done some lawyers, but mostly it's staff. And they look at me and they go, "Well, are the lawyers getting this?" And I look at them and go, "What do you think?" "Well, then what good is it?" I said, "Well, if you change your behavior, likely they will change theirs because they're going to look at you in a different way. So it's a matter of, not letting them walk all over you, but doing it in a nice way, because being assertive means knowing what you want and asking for it in an honest and respectful manner. And there's nothing wrong with you being assertive with your lawyer, especially if they've been walking all over you. So it's just a matter of, figuring out what to do. I even had lawyers say to me, "Why are you teaching them to be assertive?" I said, "So that you can get along with them better." Just,
and Sandy, I'm glad you said that because that goes right into what we're talking about today about intention and possibilities.
Yeah. Absolutely, Chris. And as Carla said, there's a lot of people who have no intentions. And if they don't, they miss opportunities. And, so many people draw that line in the sand and they're afraid to cross it. I'm sorry. If you want to change your life or do something different, you've got to cross that line. And again, we can't know everything. So you can learn some things. You can hire people to teach you different things. But it's also an opportunity to learn. And that's really good for the human brain. It functions very well when we challenge it to open new neural pathways. It keeps our brain healthy. And so it's a very important thing to do. It's one of the things that's good about professions, because most professions require you to do continuing ed in order to maintain your license. And that means you got to keep learning new things, because in most professions, there's new stuff that comes up. You got to learn what it is. So it's healthy. It's just a matter of, what the heck are we doing?
There's that phrase again. That's Sandy's favorite phrase. What the heck are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, if we're not learning something new, it's boring. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, they say that every person needs a mentor or a coach. And I strongly believe in that, because you cannot solve problems on your own. And it also goes a long way to help with accountability.
Hmm. Absolutely. And actually, I know a couple of local, very good business coaches. And when I was working in the entrepreneurial program at BCIT, I suggested to some of these young people that if they were interested in getting a business coach, because they were starting their own business, then I would give them the names of a couple, and then they could talk to them and see if it was a good fit. Because, you know, they have different approaches, and sometimes it's fitting for you, and sometimes it's not. So it just depends, you know, what you need. And basically, they sort of challenge you and give you some ideas and set you to try them out or whatever. And it's a good way. I agree with you, Carla. It's especially for some people that aren't very sure of themselves. It's good to have somebody to help you get things off the ground. I mean, being an entrepreneur it's exciting. It's interesting. It's, you know, there's lots of things that are good about it. But a lot of people are just, they're afraid to try anything new.
Yeah, you have to have a strong dose of self-confidence, and because otherwise you're not going to get anywhere with it. And
Exactly.
you can't say, well, I'm not going to do something because I'm fearful of doing it. You've got to figure out, you have to be open and break it down into small steps. And when you break it down into small steps, or you have assurance from, say, a business coach or a mentor that's done it before, to say, okay, look, it's not that hard. We're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then all of a sudden you're done, and then you're going to go, I made it so much harder in my mind. So having that person to guide you along goes a long way to helping you grow, not only for your business, but also personally.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Carla. It's so important. And I think that, you know, people who never grow, you know, who don't learn new things, who don't try new things, they're missing out. You know, it's so much fun. It's interesting to try new things and to do new things. And
And they
I
wonder
think,
why they're left behind.
yeah, exactly. And you know, you could miss something that could turn out to be something really good.
Yeah.
And you know, this whole idea of Chris's idea to bring humanity back into the workforce, just because somebody has a good idea for a business, and we've talked about this before, doesn't mean they'll be a good boss. There are some people that are naturally good with other people. There are some people like that, but they're few and far between. And the reason that so many small businesses, new businesses fail is because the person who is instigating it doesn't know what the heck they're doing and hasn't gotten the right kind of help. You know, they don't realize that the things that they're doing are shooting themselves in the foot. So it's a matter of stepping back and going, okay, you know, I'm having trouble. I need some help here. And if you recognize that and you seek the help, then you will probably make your business more successful. Because if your employees, and I know Brian doesn't agree with me on this, Chris, but if your employees are happy, and because you've created a culture that is respectful, encouraging, supportive, and acknowledging, then your people will be happy. And if they're happy, they're going to be more productive, they're going to be more efficient. And guess what? They're going to be sick less often. Because when you're happy, it enhances your immune system. So, you know, and also if they're happy, they probably aren't going to leave because they
And they're
like
not
what
going to
they
be
do.
taking mental health days.
No. So the point is, because a lot of people who take stress leave either never come back or come back and they never perform at the level they did before they went away. And also they're more likely to go off on stress leave again. So it's very important to provide an environment for your people where they are happy. And I'm sorry, I do feel it's the responsibility of the organization, and it needs to be determined by the leadership. They need to commit to creating that kind of culture and maintaining it. So they need to know what to do in order to do that. And one of the things that's very important is effective communication. And the most important communication skill is active listening. If we don't listen, we don't learn anything. And you know, the people that are on the front lines doing things, sometimes they have ideas to make things more efficient or productive or whatever. And that's why we need to listen. Because if they bring something up, it could be something that could be very helpful, and you miss opportunity if you're not paying attention. Plus, you know, you acknowledge that, and they feel really good about being acknowledged and being listened to, and that what they came up with is something that now the business is going to use. I mean, of course they're going to be happy. So, you know, it's just a matter of what is the business doing? there are businesses out there that have good cultures. There are. But lots of them are poisonous. I mean, it's just, and people get stuck because if they have financial responsibilities, and unless they have something else to go to, they can't leave because, they got to put food on the table for their family. They got to pay the mortgage. They got to maintain their car, whatever it is. So they can't afford to just walk away and not have anything, to bring money in for the family. So they get stuck. But it's a matter of if people are happy, they're not going anywhere. Because one of the things that's very expensive in a business is turnover. And also if people are sick, then the rest of the employees need to pick up the slack and make sure that whatever that person was supposed to be doing, if they were there, gets done. So, all those things are negative in terms of what happens in a business.
I see it like a relationship, and I know that Brian doesn't agree with us, but it's just like a marriage. Why would Jim want to tolerate me if I'm always bitching all the time and complaining and negative?
Yeah.
We both have the obligation to bring our best selves forward, and when we do have those days that we're angry or upset or whatever, we can be more supportive of one another. But we each have the responsibility to bring that positive energy into our relationship to make that culture good. It takes two to tango, and it takes two in an organization, the employer and the employee, to create a positive culture.
Yep.
And without that, you don't have anything. No one's going to want to go to work when the boss is always yelling at them because they're so money driven. They're more interested about production than they are about their people. And people are not going to function at their utmost best because they're afraid of being yelled at.
Well, and the word that you said, Carla, is most important, positive. The more positive people are and the more you are around positive people, the more you're going to feel positive. Negativity is depressing. It's also catchy. And, you don't want to be in a negative environment. You don't want to be around negative people. It's not healthy. It's not good. So the other aspect of a good culture is something that's positive, and it's the same in every relationship. I agree with you. I mean, Yale and I don't fight very often. The only time we fight is when we're in the car because I'm a backseat driver. Yale sometimes pulls the car over and he says, "You drive."
Oh, I've done that. I've done that before. My husband did that to me.
That's usually the only time we fight.
When
We
he
don't fight
said,
very
"You can
often.
drive," and he was criticizing my driving. I pulled over to the side of the road. I said, "Do you want to drive?" No.
Well, that's what he does.
Shut up.
I'm a terrible backseat driver. So, sometimes he just does. He pulls it. You drive. That's why this afternoon I'm driving because we want to get started with it. But that's usually the only time that we argue. We don't argue very often. We generally get along.
It's not necessarily an argument. I mean, there are people who can really argue.
He gets very angry.
It's amazing the people.
That's okay.
I also don't believe in accepting the fact that you can be stuck. Now, if you're in a negative work culture and you're not liking what you're doing and you're kind of needing it because you have bills to pay, I get it. But for almost 2 years, no, year and a half, can't remember now, I was growing my plan B, which became my plan A. And it took intentionality to put the work forward on it and go, okay, I have a choice to either be stuck, and it was the basic put up or shut up. And I didn't want to put up with it. And so I had the option of building something else or either staying where I was and shutting my mouth and going, I chose to put myself in that negative situation day in and day out, or I could choose a better way out. And my plan B became my plan A, and it came through daily intention, an hour or two a day, no matter what it took.
Well, and you guys all know that, I left my dental hygiene job because the two young guys that bought the practice, one was an ostrich. He didn't like confrontation of any sort. And the other one had an anger management problem and yelled at everybody everybody all the time. He had the receptionist in tears 2 or 3 times a day. He turned over his assistant about every 2 or 3 months because he was so mean to her. And all the patients were uncomfortable because he would yell at everybody. And, so it created a very negative atmosphere in the office. And so one day when he yelled at me in front of a patient, I told him to go away. And he just kept yelling. And finally I said, Patrick, go away. I will speak with you when I'm done. So afterwards, and so then he says to me, I'm your boss and you have to respect me. And I said, well, here's the interesting thing about respect. Respect is something that's earned. And this sort of behavior is never going to earn you my respect. I've been practicing longer than you've been alive. And I've been in this practice a lot longer than you. So I know the patients better. And I said, don't you ever do that again. You have something to discuss with me, we'll do it privately, either in your office or in the staff room, but not in the open clinic. So don't you ever do that again. I'm the boss. I said, I know you're the boss. So what? It doesn't mean that you have to be mean to everybody else.
Yeah, I've seen
And
situations.
I'm not going to put up with this.
I've seen situations
What
like
do
that.
you mean? I said, I'm going to leave. He said, you can't do that. I said, watch me. And I walked out.
Good for you. Good for you. I've seen situations like that where something has happened and there's been a physician that came out of his office and was like, I want to know what happened. And it, like everyone in the whole pod area was just like, and I'm thinking, and you guys are stupid enough to allow this to happen.
It's not professional, Carla. That's the other
talk
thing.
about
Not
it in your
professional.
office and have everybody follow into his office, because I was coming out of an exam room with a patient and walking past all this going, oh, come on up and they'll get you checked out.
Yeah.
I'm thinking patients don't need to hear that. And when
No.
you put a patient in the chair doing dental work on them, they don't need
Well,
to.
I told you, the patient, when he was yelling at me, the patient's lying in the chair looking, back and forth between us. I mean, I'm sorry, that's just wrong. It's completely unprofessional and inappropriate. It's not what you do. Besides, I hadn't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
And he yelled at me because he said I should have gotten him to do the exam. Well, I didn't even know he was in the office because he came in the back door. And I got the dentist who was on the floor to do the exam for the patient. So what did I do wrong? Like it's just, and but that's the way he was. And I told you, because my brother had already left. My brother's a dentist.
What did he say when you said, what did I do wrong? Do you remember?
Yeah, he said, well, you should have gotten me. I said, why should I have gotten you? I didn't even know you were in the office. And I got Arnie because he was on the floor. So what did I do wrong? So he just shut up. He didn't really have an answer. My brother kept phoning me. My brother had already left, Sarah. He kept saying to me, why are you staying there? You're helping them.
You're enabling them.
So Sarah, what's your thoughts when it comes to intention, possibilities, and what we're discussing here today? What's all your thoughts right now? What's going through your mind?
I can relate to much of what's being said, especially in terms of starting my own business, which in October will be almost a year since I've had it. So, and again, I would say lots of things sort of spring to mind when you talked about, negative situations, ineffective communication. I think, Sandy, you just described a very clear scenario of how ineffective communication can be, with your boss that you described and with what you witnessed as well, Carly. So I can relate to all of that. And I would also add as well, I think that's the reason why there is a lot of new businesses today that have come up, the reasons for behind a lot of small businesses these days, where people have just been unhappy, at work, and they've used this this current time, during the pandemic and so forth, to sort of recreate themselves in a way, where they can demonstrate some intentionality, in wanting to create change, become better people, learn more things. You mentioned earlier, Sandy, about hiring people sometimes to use for services that you may require if you want to sort of move further ahead. Sometimes there isn't that resource available, the extra finance for some people who are just starting off in business, and it's a very daunting time. And for myself, I mean, we've just opened a very small business, and we didn't have the finance, to say, okay, we're going to, hire somebody in. But what we do have is some skills that we've been able to utilize and build upon And I've been quite proud to say that we've been successful in building our own website. But it hasn't been easy. Has involved a lot of learning, and it's still a work in progress, but we're very happy with the results and the outcome, and and how it's been received. So it does. I mean, we will still have a lot more to learn about search engine optimization and CRM and so forth, and algorithms and things of that nature. But we're happy to learn those skills, because I don't think sometimes it's feasible to always bring somebody in when you are quite capable, or if you have the time, or if it means enough to you, to gain that experience and knowledge. Where, who knows, it could be maybe. I mean, I found I own or I'm part founder in a small independent book publishers and media company. Now, we've only just added on the media content, even though we've always had the media experience, but our business wasn't ready to do that step just yet. So we've only just recently, added that expansion on. But as a book publishers, there was lots that we had to learn, in terms of being independent, being able to, I've had to learn how to create book covers and things like that. I mean, prior to opening that business, I was a writer, established writer, confident in what I was doing, but I didn't think that my writing had much purpose, so it was a case of sort of meeting my business partner gave me that intention, if you like, with that purpose. And now we publish for existing authors, but our main demographic is to create new authors from unprivileged backgrounds, so that there's a niche in the market, and it also offers a humanitarian side of what we do as well, which we're very sort of keen to promote and explore. So yeah, in answer to your question, Chris, that would be a demonstration of my intentionality and creating possibilities as well.
Absolutely. It's so much fun.
It is.
Yep.
Thank you.
Especially when it comes to fruition and it actually works out.
Yes, I mean, it's still very new, and this is why we're very keen as well to sort of meet new people and collaborate and network, because it's okay, being a small fish in a very small pond, but we want to sort of make people be aware, about our business and what we're trying to do. And we really do believe that the discussions and the platform that you're offering is very aligned to the business and how we feel as individuals, in our own lives. And we feel that humanity has been lost a lot as well, of recent years. And it's something that, like you said, it definitely needs to be in the working environment. I would say it's quite a priority, because people spend so much of their time there. And I would also say as well that through that communication, effective communication in work, will also offshoot into other areas, personal life, meeting other people, building confidence building, and so forth. So yeah, I just think that what you're doing is just absolutely superb, and we need more of it. And I'm so pleased to be a part of what you're doing, and just to be here today and listening to you. It's nice to. There's not many of us out there, that are actually doing the work, and there are people that talk a good game, and I would even say as well in my own small circles, prior to sort of putting myself out there and having a bit more intention, in the way that I did things, and in wanting to reach my full potential, see what that looks like, and also make a difference in the world, create some kind of positive legacy. It was very important to me to sort of reach out to groups like yourself and to individuals like yourself, and and join forces, in promoting that message.
And
See
that is
this?
very powerful,
I've actually
Sarah.
written a book, Sarah.
Oh,
It's called
yes.
Five Secrets to Effective Communication. See how skinny it is? People
Yes.
don't read big books.
No.
They buy them, they show people they have them, they don't read them. So I wrote a small book.
Right.
And
I
I actually
know that
find,
book. Is it out at them? Where is it selling? I know that book.
how do you know this book?
I don't know. I just know from the title seems very familiar to me.
Okay. I sell it off my website and I
Right.
sell it at all my workshops.
Maybe
But
because I've been on your website recently, Sandy. That's where I've
also
seen
maybe
it.
you saw it. I hired a book, what she called herself was a book project manager. And
Right.
she designed the cover and she designed, how it worked, like, with pull quotes and stuff like that.
Yes.
And we decided if the page numbers would be at the top or the bottom and chose the font and everything. And she
Right.
also provided me with a terrific editor. And the reason she was so good is because she didn't really have a background in communication. So if she questioned anything that I wrote, then I knew that I hadn't written it in a way that made sense to people and I had to restructure it so that she could understand it. So it was really good that she didn't have the background in communication.
Sure.
And because it's a little book and because what I did is every chapter is laced with stories. And at the end of the chapter, I give the reader a little exercise to try out. And then the very last page is just a numbered list of the key takeaways on that aspect of communication. So it's a quick summary of the chapter. And I've had a lot of good feedback, I guess, because it is a small book and because it does provide people with insight on certain aspects of communication. And some of my clients have actually bought 40 or 50 copies because they give them to all their managers or their site supervisors or whatever. And I always sell it at my workshops. I call it my expensive business card, but anyway, and it's just, I sell it off my website. I sell it off of another website that I blog on. It's called Biz Catalyst 360 and it's run by a guy in Florida.
I know it well. Likewise.
Yeah, that's a very good website.
We have to find our people before we can lead them.
What?
That's something I want to share with you guys.
Okay, what was that, Chris?
Huh?
What was that? That was like an echo.
I thought it was a voice from above.
No, it's getting ready to be a video that's going to tie into all of this.
All right. Okay,
Yes,
fair enough.
yes, and Sarah, what you said was just truly amazing. I'm just so thankful and honored that you are here, and I believe this thing is going to really
Why don't you do it?
tie everything in, and it comes from the great John C. Maxwell.
Okay.
This
Good
is
God.
what he says, and I truly believe it is so pertinent and true when it comes to the law of intention and the law of possibilities. And this is what John C. Maxwell says. In fact, if you can believe it, at Carla's church. So here is John C. Maxwell.
Okay.
There he is.
Well, hold on, I gotta go back to I gotta restart it, and here we go. I've got to turn on the volume.
Okay.
We have to find our people before we can lead them. If you can't find them, you can't lead them. And what does it mean to find them? It means that you're able to go to where they are. You're able to connect with them. And what leaders do best is leaders find the people where they are and they bring them to where they should be.
Now, isn't that amazing? When it comes to the law of intention and the law of possibility, you go.
And it's true. A leader's job is to help their people fulfill their potential.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very much so.
So you got to recognize.
Yeah. And for me, as a humble servant of what we're doing here at Bringing Humanity Together and understanding my place in this whole thing that we're doing, even more importantly in life itself, knowing my place in all this, I truly believe if you go to where they are and not expect people to come to where you are, again, with the power of intention in this kind of dynamic is understanding, are you ready to give out that intention? And also, are you ready to receive that intention back? Same thing with a connection. Are you intentionally going to go out and seek out that connection, or are you going to intentionally receive that connection? And when it comes to possibilities, I truly believe in the power of what if. What if we could do this better? What if this could be made better, stronger, faster, whatever that might be, and really have faith and hope as a guide too as well, and say, hey, there's always going to be a brighter day ahead. There's always going to be something better. And if you do it from the mindset of abundance versus scarcity, not only will you become a better leader, a better entrepreneur, better person, whatever that might mean. You become so much better when you just allow things to naturally occur in the way that they should be intended to occur. Don't put too much stock in what other people say. Oh, you can't do that, Sarah. Oh no, Carla, you can't do that. I said, no, you can't do that. Candy, soft skills is not supposed to be taught in schools today. Come on, you know better. And see, that's what I'm saying. There's so much potential in what we can do. We see each other's gifts, strengths, talents, skill sets, and all of that. And once we recognize that, we can all become a part of something bigger than of ourselves through the power of intention, through the power of possibility, and it's all there for us to share.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, Chris. And we know that. I mean, you have attracted to yourself some very terrific people. I mean, you really have. There are some really amazing people on this team, and they bring to the table some very good experience. But also, it's just, the conversations we have are always interesting and engaging and fun. It's always fun. We always have a good time. And I think that's important because when people are learning things and when we're training other people, if they're having fun, it's more likely to be retentive. So it's good to introduce. That's why in my sessions, as I've explained to you before, I teach a concept and then I give the attendees something to do so that they get to try out what they just learned right away. And then, we can answer any questions they have or so on and so forth. But sometimes I introduce a game and I bring prizes. Even adults like prizes. And, it's fun. Well, you put them on a team, Carla, and whichever team wins gets the prize. So, just a matter of
I like
how it
prizes.
works. Yeah. So it's just a matter of what are you doing in the sessions? And as long as the sessions are interesting and engaging and fun, then you have a far better chance that people are actually going to take away what they learned and use it because it makes sense. Adults learn when they see a need. So if they understand that there's a need here and that what we're teaching them is going to help them to overcome whatever it is that's making them crazy, then they're going to be more likely to use it. So it's just a matter of, that's why customizing sessions is so important. So, it's just a matter of making sure that you're giving the client what they need and doing it in a way that's interesting and engaging and fun. And if we can do that, we're going to be very successful. I mean, I get lots of repeat business. I've even had clients refer other clients to me because they were so happy with what I did. And it's because I customize. I pretty much never do the same workshop twice unless it's to groups of people in the same organization. So I can't train them all at once. So, we do different groups. But otherwise, I never do the same workshop twice because it's not appropriate. Everybody's different. Every person is different. Every organization is different. And we need to tailor what we're doing to suit that organization or that individual if we're doing coaching.
And Sandy, I'm glad you mentioned that because it's always been in my brain right from the very start of this that humanity is this. Humanity can come together as a collective because to me, a community is unity. We're already there. Like I said, we're all sitting at the table of humanity. But what makes humanity so unique by design is we can come together as a collective for a common goal, common purpose, common mission, but yet come in from an individuality standpoint and say, I see Sarah's point here. I see Carla's point here. I definitely get Sandy's point. Soft skills are must. Just gotta have soft skills, and see, that's what makes this thing so beautiful. What we're going to do here, bringing humanity together, because we can take the best of what's out there and say, this is going to be an idea that's worth having and to share. It's like what John C. Maxwell says in the 21 of your blogs of leadership. Let the best idea win. If you let the best idea win out today, then you can say, hey, it may not work out this week for your idea, but maybe next week it might. And it's also when it comes into the dynamic of fluid leadership, it's like in I think his great book, The 360-Degree Leader, he even says everybody can be a leader. And the way I preface that is this quote that I tell people: leaders can't be leaders if they can't follow. Followers can't be followers if they can't lead. See, they're interconnected, they're intertwined. And once we realize that, again, I truly believe that we can be a part of something bigger than ourselves, far more than we give ourselves credit for, or other people credit the opportunity to be there, because I truly believe it's already there. We just got to dig in deep and say, hey, let's find that hidden gift. Let's find that talent. Let's find that potential and get it to where it needs to go.
That's right. And the only way you can figure that out is if you listen to people. Otherwise, you can't learn. You have to find out what concerns them, what interests them, what they care about. And if you can do that, then you can figure out how to help them. It's not that hard. Like I say all the time, it's not rocket science. It's just a matter of paying attention to people. And a lot of people don't do that. They just really don't pay attention. So they miss things, which means that in the end, they're missing opportunities. And it's a shame. It's really a shame because every person has potential. Every single person has potential. And it differs because it depends on your experience, on your education, on your background, on your personality, on the way you've been brought up, all those different things. But it doesn't matter. Everybody has potential. And if the leader can see that in people and help them to fulfill it, then their self-esteem goes up, their confidence goes up, which means that they're going to work better. So it's a win-win for everybody.
And just to add to that as well, Sandy, everyone has a potential, to do, has a potential, but everyone also has a potential to be great, in whatever it is that they decide to do. I think more needs to be tapped in, communicated where that's concerned as well, and extending that potential, to encourage confidence and confidence building, and also creating an awareness and being and again becoming a good leader. Totally
For sure.
agree with you.
You can't be a good leader if you're not aware of the people that you're supposedly leading, whatever that means. But it's just a matter of getting to know them and understanding them, and then you can really help them to be the best they can be, and that's going to make your business better. Because again, and even when people are happy and they're proud of where they work, you don't need to worry about customer service because they're going to want your customers and clients to be happy too. So they're going to be good to them and support them and whatever. So you don't need to worry about your customer service. It will be good because your people are proud of where they're working and they want the customers to be coming back. So it's just a matter of what are you doing? And if you're doing the right things and you're doing good things, and you're paying attention to your people, you're going to have a successful business and you're going to have happy employees who are going to do their job very, very well. And everybody wins. It's not that hard, but it needs to be intentional. There needs to be that intention to
Well,
provide that.
ladies, I will just let these two quotes say it all. First one is from John C. Maxwell, and he says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And of
Great.
course, this other quote:
Yes,
doing
that's
the right thing is the right thing to do because you can't go wrong with right. I mean, isn't that truly powerful?
Yep, that's your quote, Chris. We like it.
That was what I've been told. That's been my quote. I guess
Yeah.
so.
It's a good one. It's definitely a good one. We like it.
Well,
And it's perfect for this.
Sandy, I just believe if you just do the right thing, you can't go wrong with right.
Well, it's true.
And see, through what I've learned through the power of intention and through the power of positivity and possibility, I understand that, like you said before, you can't force people to do what they don't want to do. I understand that. I got that. And for many years, I was so hard headed not to realize that at an early age. And I have to do it from the school of hard knocks. I had to get my knocks in to understand, hello, McFly, this ain't going to work. Like I said, through the power of intention and the power of possibility and positivity, I've learned that if I can just recognize what is available to the whole organization or the whole community or whatever that might look like, and recognize the fact there are gifts there, whether they're being used or unused or ones you don't even see. I know that they're there, but I have to be intentional enough, number one, to go out and seek them out. Number two, go out and receive them when they are given. And then three, share of myself to such an extent I'm not going to ask for something in return, because I know if I give of myself, what's going to naturally happen, I will probably get far more in return if I'm just not saying, okay, Carla, you may have done great on Canva, but I need some more Canva from you. But you know what? It's not my place to demand anything. Number one, I believe in the power of ask. If you just ask people and be honest with them, say, hey, can you do this for me? Can you be helpful in recognizing that I may need that help? And see, that works both ways. When we are vulnerable to such an extent that we're truly honest in what we do and why we do it, we get not only a better engagement, we get probably the better results. And I share with this with people every day. I truly believe if we create better environments, we will get better results.
Well, and when somebody offers something that appears to be beneficial to the team or to the organization, there are leaders who take it as theirs. And that's really wrong. The person who suggests it should be acknowledged for their suggestion, because it's something that is going to be beneficial to everyone and should be acknowledged. And again, as we've also talked about, when there's change, when change is imposed on people, it's not very comfortable. But if there's a collaborative approach to change where we discuss what we want to do and how we want to do it, then everybody feels they have a stake in it. So it's
Yes.
a much different approach to making changes. When people feel they've got a stake in the change, they're more likely to accept it and deal with it and go along with it. But when it's imposed on them, it's uncomfortable. And so leadership needs to have a collaborative approach if they want some change. And especially if somebody has come to them with an idea, and then, well, let's have a meeting about that. Let's, see what everybody else thinks. And it sounds good, yeah,
it creates
exactly.
authenticity as well, between groups as well. Completely.
So again, it's not rocket science. It's a matter of paying attention to people. And if you pay attention and you acknowledge people, then they feel valued. And, as we also talked about, offering training to your people. That's another way of showing value to them, that you care about them, you want to help them improve the skills they have or learn new ones. And, they sit back and go, boy, you're making an investment in me, it's good. So there are different ways to show appreciation to your employees, and it needs to be done. There needs to be appreciation shown to them, and if it is, they'll feel good because they'll feel valued and they'll feel happy, and it's a win-win all the way around. And it's not that hard to do. It's really not, but it's something that leaders need to pay attention to. And if they do, then you have a good culture. And if you have a good culture, you're going to have a very successful business.
Yeah.
It's just
so let me ask you this, Sarah. And it's basically two questions, but something that's really it gives me fired up every time that I share it with people. Number one, do you believe that there's a difference between leadership and management? And then number two, do you believe this next currency of humanity is not going to be rooted in money, but it's going to be rooted in value? What say you on that?
Yeah, I would say there is definitely a difference between leadership and management by a massive stretch of the imagination. You find that sort of with management, it only goes so far. It's very limited, isn't it? And it's normally the person that is managing a situation is normally the person that is kind of roped into doing it, and is not somebody that's really wanting to do it. With leadership, it really is about wanting to make a difference, isn't it? I don't say that every business has the best leaders. Some people have found themselves there by fluke. But I think that good leaders, they attract followers, with very little effort, and it's purely because of having, like you said earlier, Sandy, the effective communication. And it's also about sort of positioning and deciding how you want to impart your knowledge, experience onto others in order to create positivity that you need in order to get the function done. And the respect factor as well, I think is all very, very important. Sorry, I didn't catch some of your second question, Chris, but it was something about value, wasn't it? And
Yeah, I truly believe the next currency of humanity is not going to be rooted in money. It's going to be rooted in value.
most definitely. I mean, I think as we're all becoming aware that it's more or less becoming a cashless society, isn't it, at the moment? So, it's sort of been, there's talks about cash being phased out, especially during the COVID pandemic. So I think, therefore, if that does happen, I think value will become a major commodity. I mean, it is at the moment, but because there are so many distractions, I think, not everybody is off that ethos. But I think that, of that ethos. But I do think that there is so much more to be gained from value than in monetary value, as it were. To me, I think that monetary worth is something that's very temporary, and it's not something that I think that you can really give much value to, because it's really just about spend, isn't it, and about positioning. But giving somebody your time, and like you said earlier about training people, Sandy, I think is where you can offer a great deal of value to people that you speak to, who you come across, who you work with, in every area of life, really.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
there's a lot to be said.
Absolutely. It's so true. And it's just, again, it's once more, it's not rocket science. It's just a matter of being aware and paying attention and, giving people their due.
Yeah, I agree.
What's your thoughts, Carla?
Well, I like what Sandy says about giving people their due. We need to be open to our own intentionality and also being open to working with other people, because when we're all intentional about what we're doing and treating each other with kindness and love and respect and compassion, we can go a long way. The possibilities are endless.
Yep.
I agree.
Absolutely.
That, and see, I truly believe, Sarah, everything is interconnected to everything else. It's like the foundation. When you build that field of dreams and you know that they will come, everything will have a natural byproduct effect after that. The
Yeah.
growth, the thriving, the impact, the quote unquote revenue, all that will be a byproduct if we just show people with the respect, the wherewithal to understand where their place is in the organization or our community, whatever that might be, and just let them be who they are.
I
Don't
agree.
try to force something down their throat, or don't try to make them out to be something they're not. Just let them live out their purpose and their vision in the way that they see, because it's like the model of the world. If what works good for Chris works good for Chris, don't try to change Chris and say, hey, Sandy, you got to change Chris. He's not doing something right. Come on, Sandy, you got to make Chris better. Well, maybe that's the way Chris works, and see, that's the way I've always looked at things, and I really
I
believe
agree
that.
with you. I agree with you, Chris.
So,
Very
Carla, what would be some of the call to actions that we would like to share with our viewers today?
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Could you repeat that for me?
Feedback.
I said, like I said, what would be one of our call to actions from you today?
I think to have more awareness about acceptance as well, because I took that away from the last comment that you made, and just to be more aware as well as the messages that I'm giving out, you know, when I'm speaking to people, and making sure that I'm always, it's got to come from an encouraging point of view, which I think it does, you know, most of the time when I'm dealing with people, but I think there just needs to be more of a consciousness around that. And making sure that, you know, just how I'll be feeling when I leave here from this conversation. I've already messaged my business partner and I've said to him, this group is true, you know, and I says, and I'm all in, you know, having, you know, taken part in it today. And, you know, I think however I'm feeling from having this discussion today and being here with you all is a kind of feeling I would want people to have when they've had a discussion with me overall, you know, and to have that positive, you know, so, and just really about making sure that I'm, you know, making sure that I'm all things humanitarian is what I would want to be, and I would want to be.
Carla?
Well, I think what you're saying is that comes from being personally intentional about how you relate to people and with your kindness and your compassion. And to me, that would be a great call to action, to be intentional about how you approach situations, how you show up in situations, how you present yourself. There's a big difference between being authentic and being a hot mess all over the place and going, but I'm being authentic, you know. There's a big difference in that you can treat people with kindness and compassion. You can explore your creativity without just being all kind of out there and woo-woo, and work with other people and expand your horizons. But you got to know who you are first and how you present yourself. And like we talked about before, it's a two-way street in organizations or any relationship that you have, that you have to come in with positivity. If Chris and I were having a conversation, he wouldn't want to work with me if every time I turned around, I was bad-mouthing every suggestion that he had to come up with.
Now, Carla.
And likewise. So if you say something like, hey, I love that idea, what about this twist on it? You give credibility to the whole thing. And it's not that my suggestion is better than anybody else's or anything like that. It's not one of those power things. It's a thing of collectively, how can we make things better? And how can we increase our chances of possibilities and productivity?
Completely agree.
I agree, Carla. I think that, you know, it's really important to have intentions and to encourage other people to have intentions so that they can try out different possibilities. And again, it's a matter of understanding and listening to your people and helping them to be the best they can be. And if you can do that, you're going to be a great leader and you're going to have a wonderful team, because everybody's going to feel supported and encouraged and appreciated and valued. And those are all things that make us feel good. And when we feel good, we generally work better. And it's just a matter of what is the leader doing? And it's not about the leader. You know, that's something that leaders need to understand. It's not about you. It's about the people that you're working with. And it's not that they're working for you. You're working together.
Yeah. A leader is right.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between wanting to always be right and Chris's great expression of just do.
I got it. Hold on.
Thank you. I'm
right here.
Doing the right thing.
Doing what is right, that you can't go wrong with right.
Yeah.
That's doing the correct thing, not and always being right with a solution. That I'm the leader and I have the solution, and what I say is the solution. That's going to be the way to
My way or the highway.
Yeah,
Not
my
a good way to
way.
lead.
I'm making it right. There's
Not a good way to lead. Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
I agree
No.
with you, Connie. Completely.
It needs to be more inclusive. It needs to be more collaborative.
Yeah.
People need to see how they fit into the big picture.
Mhm.
It's sort of like a jigsaw puzzle.
Well,
You
they
know,
also
it's
have
a
skin in the
matter of
game.
how do you fit in? And if they know how they fit in and they see how they fit in and they're acknowledged for how they fit in, then they're happy. It's a good place to
Yep.
be. And so it's just a matter of establishing that and maintaining it.
Right.
And that's what a good leader does, and if
Yep.
they can do that, hey, it's a win-win for everybody. So it's just
Yep.
a matter of, figuring that out. But as I said, some people are naturally good at this, others aren't. But if they recognize that they're not, they can get help. They can get a coach, or they can, take a class or whatever, so that they can learn some of the skills necessary to be a more effective leader. Because
Right.
effective leadership is really what makes a company grow and thrive and flourish and everything. But
Be
again,
open to that change and that mindset. I completely
yeah,
agree with you there, Sandy.
it's not a game, as I keep saying. It's not rocket science. It's
Mm.
about being human. And if you can really be human and relate to the other humans that you work with, then it's a whole different ball game. Just an entirely different ball game.
And and,
Anyway,
and, and ladies, my call to action is very simple. Just be intentional and do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Because you can't go wrong with right. But more importantly, just be human.
fair enough.
Just be who you're meant to be. And like I said, I don't think you can go wrong with that. If you can
No.
stay true to your beliefs and your ethics and your principles, you can't go wrong by those at all. Because that's what makes us who we are and
Okay.
everything. So, Sarah, again, thank you so much for joining
Yeah,
us
nice having
today.
you, Sarah.
Welcome. Thanks for
Yes,
having
we all
me.
need to have you part of what we're building here at bringing humanity together. We need to have more great and engaging conversations with you as well. But
Likewise.
I'm so thankful that you're able to come on with us today.
Thank
So I'm just
you.
so humbled and honored by that. So,
Likewise.
ladies, thank you again for this great and engaging conversation. And please share this with your friends and family and everyone that you know, Sarah, because we want more people to be a part of this.
Of
Because
course.
and like Sandy said, what we're doing here is not about us; it's about everyone else,
Yeah,
and that's what's truly all about.
sure.
Okay, nice seeing you all. Enjoy your
And you.
evening.
Nice to
And I'll
I
see
meet
you
gotta
on
you.
the
go.
next one.
See you
Yeah,
later,
good. Come tomorrow.
Sandy.
Yeah.
Okay.
See
All
you
right,
now.
have a good one,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye bye,
Bye.
everyone.